game here over Hoogland and his Jund Rabble deck. So game number 2 in progress here. It looks like Jeff is casting a Thoughtseize. We do see the hand here of Blood Baron of Scopa, a Last Breath, a Desecration Demon, a couple of lands there in case of Kolios, and a Mutavault. And the Blood Baron's going to go to the bin. Jeff going to play Mortars to take care of the Pack Rat too. So a good start here for Jeff actually, and he's got a land as well. So Stomping Ground with a couple of lands, Sylvan Carry added as well, and back to Basham we go.
Do you think that Jeff's a player that's going to be capitalizing on Corsair Crewfix plus fetch lands?
I have a feeling.
That seems like right up Jeff's alley.
Yeah, he'll play any colors now. It's basically free.
You mean I get to slowly extract value and shuffle my deck some? Oh,
he might have some interest in that.
I think so.
Here comes Mutavault in the red zone there for Levi.
I mean, he loves those loam decks in Legacy too.
Yeah, he sure does. I'm surprised his loam deck doesn't have Corsair in it.
Probably.
I suppose it could.
Actually, probably should, right?
I suppose it could tomorrow.
Green Brainstorm?
Yeah.
I guess that's Sylvan Library, but...
Well, Jeff plays that too.
Yeah. No reason you can't play both.
That's true.
They also synergize with each other. You leave a land on top, then you...
You know what that is?
That's good deck building.
That's what it is, yeah. All right. Overgrown Tomb going to come to play untapped. Jeff taking a bit of a damage this game. Let's see what he's got here. It's a Nissa. Well, of course, the elevator's going to go up because that's all it can do. He's going to untap some lands here. Not all of them are forest, and he just passed the turn back.
Okay. No interest in attacking. Wants to leave mana up, potentially for removal spells to protect his Nissa.
Well, can't attack that turn. He tapped all of his mana, yeah.
Oh, right.
And so he's using the first.
He still could have just made a 4/4 and said go.
That's true, yeah. He could make a 4/4 that's just tapped and said go, but he untaps maybe for a little bit of defense, or at least act like he has defense. A card like Putrefy or something like that.
Yeah.
Because if you're Levi, you know, this turn, if you're wrong, it's not great. I mean, it looks like he's going to try anyway.
It's almost like Levi has to make this attack. If he's got nothing good to cast this turn.
There's the activations. See if Jeff has a removal spell. Yep, he's got a Hero's Downfall. Okay. This ends up working out all right for Hoogland. He gets to, you know, begin his next turn with Nissa, kills a land, and that's Basham's entire turn. That's pretty good.
And these lands are outside of Bile-Blight range. They're pretty tough on Black-White, you know. They can brawl with Blood Barons and so forth.
See what this 4-mana spell is. That's as it goes. That's a huge draw for Hoogland. Now he gets to make a Satyr token, and now he's really moving. The other thing, too, is that because Nissa is up to 3 now, if Mutavault attacks, that's fine. It goes down to 1.
Right.
It's a dramatic shift in the game. And now it's actually Basham is the one who is very behind in this game.
And it's hard for him to catch up when he gets in this spot. There's no sweeper.
Yep.
And even his powerful creatures don't do a lot here.
I call it Desecration even in this spot is pretty bad.
Yeah.
Pretty bad.
I think it, in fact, leads to Levi not getting to untap.
Yeah.
Scott McLean, if you are in the room, please make your way up to the main event stage. Scott McLean.
Basham does play his 4th land for the turn. It was that white-bordered swamp to go along with the Temple of Silence, the Case of Kolios, and the Mutavault. And he's trying to figure out what he can do. Hoogland's got a pretty good idea of what's in Basham's grip due to that Thoughtseize a little bit earlier. But Desecration Demon is one card that he is definitely doing just fine against.
Well, that's the problem here is Levi's creatures are not worth very much, and 1-for-1 removal spells are also not worth very much.
Decisions here if you're Basham. How can you stay alive? How can you beat these Planeswalkers? Can you beat what's left over from the Planeswalkers? Got a lot of problems, and you have to hope that Hoogland doesn't have anything too crazy going on in hand. Right now, all Jeff has is a backup copy of Nissa.
Which is a lot of insurance here.
Yeah.
But Black-White is not great at catching itself up from situations like this unless it has Blood Baron as a trump card, and Blood Baron's not worth very much in this spot.
Beatdown time. And I'll tell you what, if you don't have your Nissas yet, you are making a mistake. This card is just unreal.
Incarnated, Corsair Crewfix, Elvish Mystic, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
They're going to be in standard.
I know we talked about earlier that Rabble Master is probably the best card from M15. I think Nissa's got something to say about that.
It's definitely another contender.
Yeah. And we're still working on finding the best home for Nissa, but this card is just something else. My goodness. Looks like that might be a Bio Blight. Take care of the land. Okay. Wants to be able to beat that in combat.
Yeah. Got to start somewhere.
Yeah. Bio Blight targeting the Temple of Mouse, which is a 4/4. It'll shrink it down to a 1/1, and the Mutavault will eat that. However, 8 damage is still going to come across. Let's see if Hoogland's got a nice follow-up here. Just a stomping ground tap to pass the turn back. So nothing too crazy. Basham will take a draw here. See what Levi can put together here. If he can stay alive, it's both these players sitting here at 5-0.
It's going to be tough, and even, you know, if he's able even to get to something like Elspeth somehow, it's not much of a reprieve.
Caves, kick it back. If you're Jeff, you play around 1, maybe 2 removal spells here.
Yep, just don't let your stomping ground be the land that you animate, because of Bio Blight.
Yeah, that's true.
Just see what Levi's up to.
Well, he's going to concede the game, so Jeff Hoogland's going to win game number 2 here against Levi Basham. John Rabble, black-white mid-range. They're going to head to a third one, which means we'll take a look at the sideboards here, and I'll look at Levi's 2 Duresses, 2 Last Breaths, 3 Sin Collectors, a Drown in Sorrow, 2 copies of Variable God of the Dead, 2 Doomblades, an Ultimate Price, an Underworld Connections, and a Deicide. He's playing, it's basically a Planeswalkers deck that does have Goblin Rabble Master, so I actually love Duress in this matchup. A lot of spells in Jeff's deck.
Yeah, Jeff's deck, even if you compare it to something like Chris Van Meter's winning list from last week, there's a lot more spells in Jeff's list. He's a lot more removal-oriented. That combined with the Planeswalkers means I think Duress will be excellent here.
You know, there's this tension, of course, where you kind of want to board in Last Breath because it can take, of course, and Goblin Rabble Master. So, you know, there are 2 copies in the board, and there are no copies in the main deck. So maybe you do want those in the, you know, in your deck after sideboard. And I think Doomblade is just kind of a nice catch-all against everything.
Yeah, I think all those cards are legitimate. On Jeff's side, a Golgari Charm, a Thoughtseize, a Doomblade, a Scavenging Ooze, 2 copies of Rakdos Return, 3 Mistcara Hydras, a Mizium Mortars, Ultimate Price, a Hero's Downfall, 3 copies of Anger of the Gods. Not a ton in the sideboard for this matchup. I think the Thoughtseize will come in. I think the 2 copies of Rakdos Return. I think Mizium Mortars is pretty good against black-white mid-range, kills Blood Baron and a variety of other threats, but not huge upgrades to make in this matchup.
You know where you're going to be at the end of the month?
New Jersey, Somerset.
That's right. You will be. You get to go back home, as usual. Dual Open Series weekend, September 27th and 28th. Patrick will be in Jersey along with Matthias Hunt, bringing you guys the coverage there. Indianapolis won't have any coverage, but it will have a relatively large open. And it is the first weekend of Khans of Tarkir Standard, so it's going to be sweet.
I think that's one of the big motivators for us to try out the dual Open Series weekend. Is it's going to be Khans of Tarkir, legal for the first time in a large standard environment. People are going to want to play, and we want to try having 2 open weekends, see if we can run this. Coverage only at one of them. It'll be me and Matthias in New Jersey, but if this goes well, it might lay the foundation for us doing this a little more frequently.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. And again, this is the weekend for everyone to make their mark on the weekend with Khans of Tarkir coming out. Not 1, but 2 Open Series weekends that weekend, which means double the results to look at for Khans of Tarkir Standard and see what people are brewing with. And also is going to give Jerry Thompson a lot of fodder for Daily Digest.
Right.
So that should be fun. Again, September 27th and the 28th. If you're nearby, you should definitely not miss either. I wouldn't miss one of these. I mean, if I still lived in Indy and was going to college there, I would be there. And however, my feet will be up that weekend.
I would drive 15 minutes from my parents' house to the Garden State Expo Center. If
Look
I was
at you.
Yeah. I would make the effort.
Look at you. That's, you know, that's why we like you.
Thanks.
Way to get out of the house.
I'd try.
My goal that weekend is to not leave the house. Feet up, maybe order a pizza pie. Not going to do a single thing that day.
Let's be honest here. 2 pizza pies.
What are you trying to say?
Going to be huddled up for a while. Not going to want to leave your house. Better to be safe than sorry.
That's true. Get a second one just in case. Looks like Basham's going to take a mulligan here. Hoogland on the draw. He's taking a look at his hand. We'll see if he's going to keep or not. Favorite pizza topping? Go.
Cheese.
I hate working with you.
Really? You seem pretty stoked. I don't know. Just plain. If forced to pick an additional topping, I would go with pepperoni.
There it is. Way to really just move in. Attaboy. Cheese.
Yeah. Not a lot. I'm not a fan of having a lot of extra stuff on a pizza.
It would take a lot for someone to make me just eat a cheese pizza.
Really?
It's just not very good. It's boring.
It's actually delicious, and the additional ingredients are in diminishing returns.
Nah. Can't see it, man. Get some pepperoni onion out there. Bang.
What's the what?
Pepperoni onion. Bang.
Onion?
Absolutely. It's great food. Delicious and nutritious.
Well,
Both of those things.
Remember, were you a child where at the time where they had pizza on the food pyramid at your elementary school?
I think so, yeah. Yeah. I wonder what the food pyramid looks like now.
Probably less pizza.
Yeah, chances are, yeah. Should we still be having 6 servings of grain? I don't know if that's the case. This is a Thoughtseize. Have ourselves a Golgari Charm, a Nissa, a Xenagos, and some lands.
So this is now a hand that can be easily defeated by a pack rat.
Yes. Oh.
Take Golgari Charm and then...
Yeah. Okay, gotcha. I mean, Jeff has so many backup removal spells in his deck. Now, of course, he has to draw one of them, but this is definitely a hand that can lose to the rat.
Also, who knows if Levi has pack rat in hand. At this
course.
point, we don't know, but I'm saying.
It'll be very telling if he does. You know, we'll know if he does based on what he selects. It doesn't look like he does, so Xenagos is going to hit the bin. There's a Temple of Malice. Jeff will scry.
That Thoughtseize is really rough for Jeff there because it means either he's going to lose to pack rat or probably get stranded with Golgari Charm. It's very unlikely there's a middle ground on those hands.
There's a backup. Busy Mortars with the draw step there for Hoogland. Again, Nissa and the G-Charm are the choices along with that freshly drawn Mizium Mortars. Bye-bye Planeswalker. Caves, kick it. Over to Hoogland, who will draw. Temple of Malice number 2, little scry action. Jeff not underneath any pressure yet, but a card like Underworld Connections blows this game wide open.
Yeah. That's the problem. His hand's all removal now, nothing proactive. He's susceptible to additional discard spells or just a threat that he can't answer.
It's a Life Bane zombie. Take a look at the grip. Just a bunch of removal spells. That zombie's not long for this world. The big question here is which removal spell does Jeff want to use to kill it?
I feel like it almost has to be Golgari Charm because it's not clear what else that is going to go on with that card.
Yeah, it's like a really interesting decision, right? If you use the Charm, you can lose the Connections.
Yep. If
If you use the Dreadbore, you can lose the Desecration Demon. If you use the Mortars, you can lose the Blood Baron.
Right.
So I mean, there's a real
there's an issue in all directions.
Yes. Jeff is just going to play an Overgrown Tomb tapped and pass the turn back. Here's an attack. There's the G-Charm. -1/-1 will take care of the zombie. And Basham just has to pass the turn back. Hoogland with a Stomping Ground tapped, and this is a Sylvan Carry added. Kick it back over to Basham, who will draw. Temple of Silence. A little scry action here. Basham says he'll keep it, kick it back. That's land number 4. Maybe land number 5 is looming for the Blood Baron on top. Jeff, Stomping Ground, kick it. He's just got a bunch of removal in hand. This is not the kind of game you want to play against Mono Black, I don't think.
No, definitely not. And I think that Levi's done a very good job with his discard spells thus far, surrounding Jeff with a lot of removal spells, nothing proactive, and doing this means that Levi's discard spells down the line will still be very good.
Yep.
Because he knows for sure there'll at least be a removal spell for him to take.
There's a Life Bane zombie. Mortars, Dreadbore, Blood Crypts. Nothing has changed. Basham will pass the turn back. There's a Temple of Malice off the top of the deck for Hoogland. A little scry action. See if he likes what he's looking at.
This is, if you're in Jeff's seat right now, you cannot feel that comfortable.
No,
I mean,
not
it
at all.
looks like the game's going fine, but you got to imagine Levi draw step to draw step is just better than you are.
Yeah, I would feel terrible if I was Jeff in this situation. Not applying any pressure, hoping my draws are better than my opponent that has Pack Rat in their deck. Yeah, there's a Blood Baron. And now Blood Baron, of course, the coast is clear because Levi just saw the hand and he knows what's left, which is a Dreadbore.
Yeah.
Now, there's a copy of Read the Bones. It's about time if you're Jeff. He finally found something. He's got a couple copies of that card in his deck. Wish he would have drawn it earlier.
And there are upwards of 4 mortars in his deck. I don't know how many are in there right now, but he does have 3 main and 1 on the board. So he does have a lot of hypothetical answers left to this Blood Baron.
Another copy of Read the Bones. More damage going to be dealt. And I don't think really Jeff cares about paying the life at this point. He's like, I get to draw cards and fix my draw a little bit.
Yeah.
Two-headed giant.
1 on top, 1 on bottom, 2 cards coming. I'd be thrilled if I was Hoogland right now. Assuming that he's found an answer to this Blood Baron. He's just going to play a Blood Crypt tapped and pass the turn back.
Probably no answer because we would have seen a Mortars cast, I feel like, to finish off that turn.
Yeah.
If Jeff had access to it.
Thoughtseize, perhaps? Yes. It's a Xenagos. 2 Dreadbores and a Putrefy. There goes Xenagos. It's a lot of removal spells, unfortunately for Hoogland. They're all black.
And it's, the Xenagos also is not a solution to the Blood Baron, most likely, but it would have allowed Jeff to defend himself for a very long time. Now he's back in a spot where he needs to find an answer.
Mizzy and Mortars, are you here? Jeff draws a card. Didn't get a great look. There's a Nissa. That is an answer. If the 4/4 land can live. Now, one thing that Jeff is actually capable of doing here is maybe protecting his Nissa with the Sylvan Caryatid if he needs to block.
Now the game sort of swings in the other direction.
It's getting there.
If Jeff can hold off this Blood Baron, well, he's got a lot of removal spells that check most of the other things that Levi can generate at this point.
Yep. Hero's Downfall will take care of the Nissa. Basham going to quickly untap. Will draw a card. He's going to go reaching for some mana. You see the Devour Flesh in his hand. Here's 3 mana. And it looks like another Hero's Downfall. There goes the land.
And now Jeff is back in the unfortunate spot where no answer on board or in hand to the Blood Baron.
Yep. He's got to go back to hoping to draw another Nissa or Mizzy and Mortars. Second Mutavault there for Basham. And then pass the turn back over to Hoogland. Hoogland's at 6, Basham at 20. Let's see what Jeff draws. That's a Temple. Take a look at the top. Scry that card to the bottom. You can see some frustration there.
This is part of the issue, though, with playing, a deck that's 50% removal spells and 50% low-impact creatures.
Yeah.
In a matchup like this.
Devour Flesh at the end step.
You get hit by some Thoughtseizes, you get left with the wrong half of your deck, and, you get to this spot where you just don't have a lot of draw steps that matter.
I promise this isn't the first time we've seen someone draw a lot of lands.
Yeah.
It happens.
And in fact, he actually really hasn't drawn that many lands. I mean, It's not like some outrageous number,
There's a Putrefy. 6 damage is going to come across. Hoogland's going to go down to 3. Bash him up to 21. Excuse me, 23. Top card goes in the bottom. See if Jeff can draw an answer. Draws a card. Sylvan Caryatid is a blocker, but I'm not sure that's going to be able to save him at this point. Those Dreadboards have been stuck in the hand all game.
Yeah.
And again, he had to be careful about which removal spells he ended up using. You saw him use the Mortars on the Lifelink Zombie. Had to use a Dreadboard. Things are a little bit different.
Yeah, but then he loses to Desecration
Of
Demon.
course, yeah. It's a different world altogether.
Right.
You have to make a very, you try to make an informed decision as you can in that situation. There's a copy of Rakdos Return. That's much too late, and so that's going to do it. Yeah, Basham's going to win this match over Jeff Hoogland, 2-1. He moves on to 6-0. Black-white mid-range, taking down the Jund Rabble deck. You can see a little bit of frustration there for Hoogland ending the game with those Dreadboars, but Blood Baron of Escopa, it having protection from black is mighty, mighty powerful.
It wasn't even, it's a little bit of a frustrating end for Jeff there, but it wasn't even that unreasonable of a game.
No, not at all.
It's, I understand he's got a lot of draws in his deck that answer a Blood Baron there, but he's very sensitive to having the right things line up for him once we get to that stage of the game. And Levi was able to play pretty efficiently around and effectively around the cards that were left over in Jeff's hand.
And of course, when